that they deserve. Mr. Speaker, I conclude by calling on the House, especially the Senate members of the House, to join me, pay a minute of silence in memory of Tuareg and the 8 people who lost their lives in the 2020 elections and all other people who lost their lives. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Please.
Mr. Speaker, no sooner had they come into power than they form groups with blood-curdling names, such as Invisible Forces, Delta Forces, and what.
Edem Agbana, you have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity to contribute to this very important statement about election-related violence and the calls for justice. Mr. Speaker, as a member of Parliament, I join all discerning Ghanaians who are calling or who are condemning the violence that we saw at Ablekuma North last week, Friday. And Mr. Speaker, violence in election is a threat to our democracy. And we must all join hands to ensure that Ghanaians can go to the polls and vote for people that they wish to lead them without coming into contact with any act of violence. However, Mr. Speaker, I find it very, very intriguing that the call for justice and the condemnation of what happened at Ablekuma North is coming from the minority side. I say so because, just like my honorable colleague, the Honorable Felix Ofosu-Kwakye, had said, under the NPP regime from 2017 to 2024, we saw how almost every election organized under them was characterized by violence, and not just violence, Mr. Speaker, state-sponsored violence. Mr. Speaker, I stand here in this House today as a survivor of the January 2019 Ayawaso West Wugon by-election violence. Mr. Speaker, I went to the Legon Hall polling station as a national executive of the NDC, properly accredited by the Electoral Commission. Mr. Speaker, I had no weapon, not even a pen or paper. I had no weapon. I had no pepper spray. I only went to the polling station as a national executive accredited by the Electoral Commission to observe elections. But, Mr. Speaker, men clad in national security apparel moved to me and attacked me. They did so in the presence of the military, and that is why I am surprised that the former defense minister, under whose watch we saw the military used for such pettiness, could today be demanding for investigation. What did he do when he was Minister for Defense? Mr. Speaker, right in front of the military, in front of the police, I was attacked in front of MPP national executives. I have records, their voices, pictures of MPP officials who praised and even mocked Sam George and I that they could have done better or the tax should have beaten us better. Mr. Speaker, I condemn violence, but my point is that he who calls for equity, if you cannot come with clean hands, at least hold a hand sanitizer. What happened to the recommendations of the Ayawaso West Wugon by elections? So today, if they sit in this chamber and pontificating and pretending as though this is the first time, Mr. Speaker, like I said, I went to the polling station with no weapon, and yet I was attacked. Mr. Speaker, in 2020, I was at Techiman South, again, as an observer. I saw how people in military uniform opened gun on NDC supporters, and the videos are there. I can share for the records. So if today the preaching in this house is as though for the first time we have seen, like I said, I also support the call that let's condemn violence. But like I'm saying, those who are calling for the justice should remember that just like the former minister said, crime has no expiry date. There are victims of Ayawaso West Wugon violence today. Some of them have been amputated. They are demanding for justice. All the families of the 8 people who died in the 2020 elections, their families are demanding for justice. Mr. Speaker, people who were brutalized in Banda during registration because they were Voltarians and they were being prevented from registration right in front of us, their families are demanding for justice. Mr. Speaker, the families of the people that were brutalized in Kasua, including the people that Hawa Kumsin herself admitted shooting at them, those families are equally calling for justice. If we want to see an end to electoral violence, as all of us are preaching, Mr. Speaker, let us stretch our hands in the investigative process and bring to book those men who are even easier to identify because they were in national security uniform. It means it was a state-sponsored vigilantism. All of them must be brought to book. And Mr. Speaker, that level of terrorism in our elections will stop. In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, I have seen that President Mahama is different. President Mahama is different because... Mr. Speaker, President Mahama is different because in his first 100 days, he instructed the IGP to open investigations into the killings in the 2020 elections. We are told that the reports are ready. President Mahama is committed to ensuring that everybody who has been a victim of any electoral malpractice or violence, all of those people will get the justice that they deserve. Mr. Speaker, I conclude by calling on the House, especially the Senate members of the House, to join me, pay a minute of silence in memory of Tuareg and the 8 people who lost their lives in the 2020 elections and all other people who lost their lives. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Please.
Unfortunate altercation which occurred at the Ablekuma North by-election made for very difficult viewing. It is something that nobody can defend. But, Mr. Speaker, I recall that in the early 2000s, I first set foot in this house to look for then minority leader, Honorable Edem Agbana, who now is the Speaker of this House. Mr. Speaker, he gave me a copy of Jeffrey Bing's seminal work, Reap the Whirlwind. Little did I know that that title was actually a famous biblical verse, which says that you have sowed the wind and you shall reap the whirlwind. Mr. Speaker, let me place it on record. Let me place it on record. I was a student at KNUST. Yes. I was a student at KNUST.
Honorable
I was a Teyin executive. But Mr. Speaker,
you are not supposed to answer anybody.
Well, it was
Honorable
just,
members,
it was just
let's
by the way.
listen to each
Mr.
other
Speaker,
in silence.
a critical test must be had on anything that members of the new patriotic party say in respect of this particular incident. And it is a test of sincerity. Mr. Speaker, if we carry out a cursory examination of the positions taken by our friends sitting on the other side on the many acts of impunity and raw terrorism which occurred between 2017 and 2024, very few or none of them would have been heard condemning those incidents. Mr. Speaker, no sooner had they come into power than they form groups with blood-curdling names, such as Invisible Forces, Delta Forces, and what have you. Mr. Speaker, we witnessed a situation where in 2019, during the Ayawaso West Wugon by-election, state-sponsored tax.
Yes, I recognize Honorable Minority.
Speaker, my colleague, I tried to listen to him carefully. Speaker, I'm relying on Order 93.5. I said 93.5. And then, Speaker, further relying on Order 1232. Speaker, my colleague used expressions such as words, terrorism. He used the word terrorism. And Speaker, 93.5 is not supposed to provoke debate. Speaker, he could proceed with his submission, but I implore you to impress upon him to withdraw the word terrorism, because it is totally unparliamentary, and this House should not be entertaining such unparliamentary words. And Speaker, I invite you to let him withdraw that word used. It's totally unparliamentary, and it's offensive to our rules.
Yes, Honorable Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I think that as a general practice, I have avoided trying to intimidate first-timers anytime they are speaking. I try very hard, even when they make mistakes and we have to point it out, I find a way of doing that. And I don't want us to encourage a practice of intimidating first-timers. The rules are clear, not to provoke debate. The mention of a word, terrorism, how does that provoke debate? Mr. Speaker, the issue of terrorism in electoral campaigning engaged this House to a point where we had to enact a legislation. We enacted a legislation on the matter. So when he's given a historical account, and simply refers to the word terrorism, how does that provoke debate? It doesn't provoke debate. So I urge you, Mr. Speaker, let the contributions continue.
Honourable Member, please continue.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, there is no doubt that what the thugs associated with the MPP did in Ayawaso West Wagon and in places like the Kumasi courts, where they barged in and freed their colleagues standing trial, amounted to terrorism. Mr. Speaker, terrorism is simply the use of violence to achieve political ends. Mr. Speaker, what is most worrying is that anytime those thugs got into trouble, it was officials of the New Patriotic Party who went to their aid. Shut up. Mr. Speaker, at the time, nobody on their side read a statement here that we should condemn those actions. Mr. Speaker, whereas I sympathize with what Honorable Howard Kunsin went through, and there's no way I will condone that kind of conduct. She herself has been historically involved in acts that pass for violence during elections. Mr. Speaker, she admitted publicly to firing guns at polling stations during the 2020 limited registration exercise. Mr. Speaker, we know that there are members of the NDC who today have been maimed. Some have actually lost their lives out of violence that she is believed to have instigated. Mr. Speaker, when you do these things, you call violence upon yourself. So, Mr. Speaker, I agree in principle that firm action has to be taken to stamp out this specter of violence that has characterized almost every by-election in our country. But let not those who in the recent past were sponsoring these acts of terrorism against opponents suddenly pretend that they are against it. They are not, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in all the 8 years that they remained in power, what concrete action did they take in the many acts of violence that took place? Mr. Speaker, there is a Commission of Inquiries report which identifies individuals who are no members of their party and says they should be sanctioned for the wrongs that they did. Mr. Speaker, the Emil Short Committee identified specific individuals for prosecution. No sooner had that report come out than their government issued a white paper insisting that those gentlemen engaged in those acts of terrorism because they were provoked. Mr. Speaker, a party that endorsed violence during elections cannot come today and call for investigations into acts of violence. It is those of us who condemned it in the past and are condemning it today who have the right to make such a call. So, Mr. Speaker, even in the wake of the events at Ablekumanov, their officials are on record to have vowed that there will be violence at Akwetia. Even as they call for action to be taken, they are threatening violence. Indeed, we all recall that it was in 2012 that then candidate Akufo-Addo openly praised the use of violence as a political tool when he said, Mr. Speaker, the same Nana Akufo-Addo is on record to have said, all die be die. Mr. Speaker, Honorable Kennedy Japan went on public radio. Honorable Kennedy Japan went on public radio and called on accounts to attack gas. Mr. Speaker, when he was prosecuted and released by a court, they carried him shoulder high and poured powder on him to celebrate those comments. People with this kind of record cannot possibly purport today to be opposed to terrorism and acts of violence. So, Mr. Speaker, let us have a discussion about sanitizing our politics. But let us eschew insincerity and duplicity in the discourse. Mr. Speaker, let us take firm action against those who threaten violence at elections. But let us not accept hypocrisy. Let us not accept the politics of convenience. That today it is
Honorable member, your time is up.
Hell must break loose. Mr. Speaker, I am for strengthening the laws against electoral violence. Let the law take its full course.
Honorable,
no matter who
your time is up.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Yeah.